Pearson Corbett refers to one of Hiram Smith's relics as a pouch, Masonic cotton fabric. It is believed that this pouch was used to hold the magic parchments. In a new book we are preparing, Mormonism, Magic and Masonry, we intend to have photographs of the parchments, both sides of the knife and the pouch. Just after writing the above, we received photocopies from a manuscript entitled, The Masonic Emblems and Parchments of Joseph and Hiram Smith, compiled by Arturo de Hoyos. With the exception of the knife, the author has linked the Hiram Smith material to magic sources and has even found a great deal of additional material relating to the subject. The fact that we did our research completely independently and yet arrived at the same conclusions seems to show how strong the case is that the Hiram Smith material was derived from magic. While we found the strange object with the name Raphael written on it in the Magi's, Mr. de Hoyos located the same drawing in the Ancients Book of Magic, a book we also used to identify one of the other objects. The drawing in the Ancients Book of Magic was apparently taken from the Magi's. The word Raphael is illegible in the Ancients Book of Magic and in de Hoyos' manuscript, whereas it is very readable in the Magi's. While Mr. de Hoyos also used the Ancients Book of Magic to identify the pentacles or talismans on the Hiram Smith parchments, we used The Discovery of Witchcraft, a book originally published in 1584. The drawings in the two books appear to contain minor differences, although they are obviously representations of the same objects. In any case, we feel that Arturo de Hoyos has produced an excellent piece of work on the Hiram Smith material. While he seems to be sympathetic to Joseph and Hiram Smith, de Hoyos has to admit that it is puzzling that they would possess items linked to the occult. The three parchments which belonged to the patriarch Hiram Smith will be discussed. These parchments are presently in the possession of their, for example, Smith family, and to my knowledge no interpretation of the figures found on them is to be found. These parchments have been termed Masonic, although they bear no direct relation to the Masonic ritual. There are however certain aspects of the parchments which do bear some relationship to Freemasonry. It is very possible that Hiram Smith learned about these charms from his fellow Masons, as Masons do attach importance to certain signs and emblems, and ascribe meanings to the same. One cannot help but wonder the reason why the prophet Joseph Smith, and his brother, Hiram, the patriarch, would possess articles such as they did unless they actually believed that these items did possess some sort of supernatural power, or that they were a key to receiving power or protection. Is it possible that just as the Masonic ritual, which Joseph termed the apostate endowment, retained principles of truth, that these pentacles which have come down through the ages to be associated, with witchcraft, black magic, and the occult as a whole yet contain elements of truth which were recognized by the prophet? Whatever the case may be, both Joseph and Hiram did possess these charms, and it seems highly unlikely that there was not a legitimate reason for this. The Masonic Emblem and Parchments of Joseph and Hiram Smith, compiled by Arturo de Hoyos, 1982, pages 1 and 2. Suppressed document. We have been told that there is a very important document being suppressed which may relate to the involvement of the early Mormon leaders in magic. This is a history of the church written by Oliver Cowdery. Cowdery, of course, was one of the three witnesses to the Book of Mormon. According to Joseph Fielding Smith, he was appointed to assist Joseph in keeping a history of the church. Cowdery kept this record until 1831, when John Whitmer was commanded to keep the church record and history continually. For Oliver Cowdery I have appointed to another office, Doctrine and Covenants 47-3. In John Whitmer's History of the Church, he wrote that Oliver Cowdery has written the commencement of the church history, commencing at the time of the finding of the plates, up to June 12, 1831, John Whitmer's History, page 4. While Dean C. Jesse said that the Cowdery history has not been found, Brigham Young University Studies, Summer 1971, page 461, church historian Joseph Fielding Smith, who later became the 10th president of the church, indicated that it was in the historian's office. Oliver Cowdery was the first one appointed to assist Joseph in transcribing and keeping a history of the church. John Whitmer took his place, when Oliver Cowdery was given something else to do. We have on file in the historian's office the records written in the handwriting of Oliver Cowdery, the first historian, or recorder of the Church, Doctrines of Salvation, Volume 2, page 201. We understand that a number of documents which were originally stored in the church historian's office were later moved to the vault of the First Presidency. This was undoubtedly done to keep them out of the hands of the public. The Mormon leaders were especially concerned about this matter when Dr. Leonard J. Arrington became church historian. In any case, we understand that the Cowdery history of the church, not to be confused with the history that was published in the Messenger and Advocate, is now located in the First Presidency's vault. At one time an inventory was made of what was contained in the vault. When the Cowdery history was opened, it was discovered that it contained magic characters. A number of years ago, we tried to get the church to make Cowdery's history and other documents available. We were informed by the assistant church historian, however, that Joseph Fielding Smith was not interested in the project you have in mind. Letter from A. William Lund, as cited in the Case Against Mormonism, Volume 1, page 77. Since Cowdery's history is supposed to go back to the time Joseph Smith found the plates, it may contain many things that would be embarrassing to the church. If any of our readers have any additional information on the contents of Cowdery's history, especially with regard to the charge that it contains magic characters, we would appreciate hearing about it. The gold plates and magic characters. On May 3, 1980, the church section of the Mormon newspaper, Deseret News, reported a handwritten sheet of paper with characters supposedly copied directly from the gold plates in 1828, and also bearing other writing and the signature of Joseph Smith, has been found. Written on the back, apparently after Harris brought the paper back from his encounter with Professor Anthon, are the following words and spellings. These characters were diligently copied by my own hand from the plates of gold and given to Martin Harris, who took them to New York City, but the learned could not translate it because the Lord would not open it to them in fulfillment of the prophecy of Isaiah written in the 29th chapter and 11th verse. Signed, Joseph Smith Jr. In my judgment, this writing is that of Joseph Smith, said Dean C. Jesse, Senior Historical Associate in the Church Historical Department. After the discovery of the transcript was announced, church scholar Hugh Nibley triumphantly announced, "Of course it's translatable." Herald, Provo, Utah, May 1, 1980. According to the Herald, Nibley also said he counted at least 24 out of 47 characters in the Demotic alphabet that could be given phonetic value. This offers as good a test as we'll ever get. Mormon scholars have now had the transcript for 2.5 years, and all attempts to translate it have ended in failure. The Mormon Egyptologist Edward H. Ashmont, who originally had a great interest in the document, has now given up the idea of trying to link it to Egyptian writing. This is very important because the Book of Mormon claims to have been written in Reformed Egyptian. Since all efforts by Mormon scholars to decipher the transcript through Egyptology have failed, scholars must now look for other alternatives. Many people feel that the document is merely a product of Joseph Smith's vivid imagination. While this may be the true explanation, there are still other theories that need investigation. For instance, a former Brigham Young University professor has maintained for a number of years that the characters on the Anthon transcript are taken from works on magic and astrology. Although we felt that he could demonstrate a few parallels, we have never taken this idea too seriously. Recently, however, evidence linking Joseph Smith and his family to magical practices has mounted to the point where we feel we have to take a closer look at this idea. We must admit that there are many magic characters which bear a striking resemblance to those on the Joseph Smith transcript. For instance, in a script found in the Greater Key of Solomon, Plate 13, we find this character. The reader will notice how similar this appears to a character found in Smith's transcript, Although a number of similarities have been noted, at this point we do not think they are sufficient to prove the case. In our book, Book of Mormon Characters Found, we show that there are many similarities to common English characters. One thing that makes us suspect that there may be a connection to magic is the circular object which appears in the lower right-hand corner of Joseph Smith's transcript. As we pointed out in Book of Mormon Characters Found, page 11, the circular object bears some resemblance to Joseph Smith's magic talisman. In both cases we have a circle drawn within another circle with characters running around the edge and within the center circle. In magic books it is claimed that a circle drawn within a circle has great power.